Hello and welcome to the world's first Paul Weller fan podcast. I'm Dan Jennings, and on this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Declan O'Rourke, another huge talent. It's always a delight to talk to Declan. He's warm, humorous, super smart, and clearly brilliant at creating fabulous music. This time around, we talk Find El Dorado, the brand new album from Paul Weller, which is available right now, and that opening song, a duet between Paul and Declan, a cover of Richie Havens Handouts in the Rain, a song that is undeniably beautiful, but it reflects on humanity's repeated failures, violence, prejudice, exploitation, while warning of the inevitable consequences, alienation, shame, and destitution. A song which was, I think, written in the 1970s, and which here we are decades later, the relevance of which has not diminished, sadly. And a message as urgent now as when Richie Havens first sang it. You may remember as well, last time Declan was on, we talked about his album Arrivals. We talked about him being an author as well. So we're going to touch on some of that as well. Let's get into it. Declan O'Rourke, lovely to see you.
Dan, great to see you too. How are you keeping?
I'm very well. I mean, we were just saying it's like the hottest day of the year. I mean, you look cooler than I do. You've obviously got your aircon sorted out, man. This is so hot in this garden office.
I'm extremely warm in temperature, but this is natural coolness you're looking at here.
I think you and Weller share that in common, actually.
Just kidding.
I'm excited to talk about new music from Declan as much as I am from Weller. And here we have a little combination. Tell me how this came about. So this is Handouts in the Rain, the opening track from Paul Weller's new album. And there's you and Paul.
Yeah, well, I guess we've tried to arrange an opportunity to collaborate numerous times, or even before Arrivals, but we've always been saying, oh, we should do something, we must do something, we must write something, and this is the first time it's actually materialized for some reason. I guess he mentioned he was doing this record and invited me to do a track, and I wasn't familiar with the song, but loved it so much and just thought it was so appropriate to our times with genocide going on in Palestine, and so I thought it was a beautiful fit. Just loved singing it with him.
It's amazing how those types of songs, I mean, sad, isn't it? It still resonates. The lyrically still resonates in exactly the same way as when it was originally created. Did you talk about that, the two of you, those lyrical meanings?
It was unspoken, but it was plainly obvious. I imagine Paul was, well aware of it when he asked me, knowing that I was supportive of the whole situation. So it was, as soon as I heard it, I guess his style was to just send me the song and see how I reacted. And I openly said, wow, this is so appropriate, so that was as much communication as was needed. The song does its own work, I suppose. So then it was just no questions. We're on the same page and let this do the talking for itself for anyone who hears it, I suppose.
This process was remote? Were you in the studio together? Talk me through how that came about.
It was remote, yeah. They recorded, himself and Stevie, I suppose, recorded their version or their end of it and asked me to... Actually, I was initially... They invited me to play some guitar on it. And they said, how did it come about? Well, I think they sent me the guitars first. And they didn't send me Paul's vocal. I think that may be what happened. And I said, can you send me his vocal so I know where I am in the song, actually? And while I was waiting, I said, I'll just sing a rough version of it down myself and I'll sing to that and that'll be discarded later. And I either told them I'd done that and they said, let's hear it, and I said that they were like, oh, well, we turned it into a duet.
I love it. It's brilliant.
I accidentally invited myself to sing on it.
Why not? I guess it's amazing that can still happen remotely because that's the kind of conversation you would have had in a studio face to face.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. Well, geography is against us, I suppose. I think we probably would have collaborated before now and probably more frequently if we were just knocking in around the corner.
I love that. So there's a Declan O'Rourke, almost like a demo in the same way as there is probably a Weller version as a demo.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But, I mean, I didn't really demo. Well, I think it was the vocal that I sang down as a rough that was used. So demo was just a word, what you intended to be.
Yeah, I suppose I meant version, I guess. But yes, you're right.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing how often you guys, all of you, we talked about this on your album, but well as well, like first take is often the one used.
The more irreverent you are, it seems, the more on it you can be in a way. you start to focus too much and say this matters, then it starts to get too pretty or too clean, or you start to concentrate too much on the little finer details. Whereas if you treat it like you're on stage and you get to sing it on stage, never with the thought that I can go back and redo this. You never question, you just do it, and it's a complete performance. If you took any one of those and put it into a studio and you were sitting there when it went down, you'd probably say, oh, I'll go back and I'll fix that and I'll fix that. It's just a mindset. But I think the beauty of many of the recordings we love, especially from back in the day where that studio time was so expensive and such a privilege that you didn't have the chance to do it again. And it was much more that same philosophy of live performance.
Yeah, you often hear, don't you, people like an album years in the making, and there's been tinkering of this thing for a decade and whatever, and you're like, well, just get the thing out there. Come on now.
That can go one of two ways, and I'd say 90% of the time it goes the wrong way,
Yeah, and actually, when we talk about the original, so Paul sent you the original, did he?
No, I looked it up myself. I guess because I was unfamiliar with the song, maybe they sent me the original to listen to and then said, would you like to sing this or play this?
It's the same in the way, a sense, what I was going to say is that original was kind of raw and kind of emotionally charged and a little rough around the edges, I guess, to a certain extent as well, right?
Yeah, and Richie Havens was just a master and such a social and political force, for human rights and just all around humanity, good spirit. Such a good choice.
We touched on it a little earlier because it strikes me as bizarre for people to be a Paul Weller fan and not understand where Paul's coming from on various things, right? And the amount of comments I'll kind of, social media can be a bit of a cesspit, right? We all know that. But the amount of comments I'll see when they're like, oh, I wish he'd just leave the politics alone. And you're like, what he's talking about, what have you never followed his career? I mean, for Christ's sake, and his lyrics and stuff. But it's not politics that we're talking about here. It's life, literally, right? It's like, exactly. Why would he not be standing up for what he believes in that sense?
You separate the two, yeah. I mean, that's a crime in itself. That's what's wrong with the world, is people putting things, masking things behind words and saying, well, that doesn't work because legally we can't do that, or, legally we have a trade agreement, or, what are we talking here? Trade versus, babies being bombed, or it's not even a conversation. It shouldn't be a conversation, but so many people in the world hide behind things like that. Usually people with a different agenda,
Did you, this project, my understanding is from Paul, is that these are songs that he's kind of had in his back pocket for a while and they're reimaginings in a sense. You knew this was for a covers album, this was for a covers project, did you?
I did, but let me come out and say as well, what a great record. Oh man, it's brilliant, They sent me the whole thing and I've done it many times. I've listened to it. It's such a great piece of work. His voice is just in such a sweet spot, and the songs, the recordings, the collection of everything. It's just brilliant. I love it.
I think the production's beautiful from Craddock, who's done all of that, right?
Yeah. He did a stellar job. Job.
Yeah, I mean, and Paul said this to me as well. They kind of, you don't know how long the vocal thing will last for him. He's really pleased. I mean, he said to me, I think that he felt that he could sing properly in the last 5-6 years, which seems nuts. He also said, you never know how long that's going to last for. And you're right, his vocals at the minute just sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really, really warm and very rich. And it's just in a very mature space or something. I just love it. The quality of it is beautiful. And I love when he sings in that register, because he can obviously so easily do the kind of rock and roll mod thing, whatever you want to call it, where, you're belting them out with a bit of attitude and all that. He's king at that. But to see him take the brakes off a little and sing in that register where it's just a little bit more relaxed, it really suits him. It's beautiful,
Yeah. As you've got the album, let me ask you, what songs you're digging most, man?
It's been moving around, but I think my two favorites are the Bee Gees one. I'll put my hand up and say I didn't know most of the songs. A couple of them sounded familiar, more than a couple actually, but, let's say that one, for example, I had never taken the time to sit and listen to it. And it really floored me, that song. It actually caught my breath a couple of times where I actually just went, the quality of the writing in it and how well it was delivered. And then Hannah's string arrangement and just, that's an epic track. It's really fantastic. I think it's one of the best things I've heard him do or anybody do in quite a while. The other one I love, Where There's Smoke, There's Fire. Is that the name?
That's great, yeah.
Cracker, that's cracker. It's a real earworm, you know, but there's so many great ones on it. Other ones that I don't know the title of yet, but I've just been going, wow, that's really good. I want to come back and hear that again and again, you know.
Well, look, let me ask you in a sec about what you're up to at the minute, but we should also mention this other little Weller connection here, which I had to go out, record store day. I had to get up at like 5 o'clock, record store day. Look, here we are.
Yeah.
The Declan vinyl, Kai Brown with Kisses, and Paul Weller with Steve Craddock doing Galileo.
Yeah, what a treat. Oh my God.
What a buzz, man.
What a treat.
So how did that come about?
Well, it was suggested to us to do some kind of record store day offering because I've never done one before. And the obvious thing was to do something, a spin-off of Kai Abram, because we're celebrating the anniversary at the minute. And there was so much material lying around that I had dug up. But we thought it would be nice to invite a couple of guests, which I had considered doing on the actual 20th anniversary version. Didn't do it for some reason. But anyway, you know, there are a few people who throughout my career and personal life have been really supportive and vocal advocates of mine and of the songs on Kai Abram in particular, and who I felt had an effect on where it went and people's perception of it. And Paul was absolutely one of them, you know, if not the foremost of them, but others just as much in other ways, you know. And I thought it would be a lovely tip of the hat to those people to thank them. So it's Kai Abram with Kisses, as in the love that people have shown for it.
Nice.
Both during the making or before the making, there was a great friend of mine, we're still just best of friends. He was the biggest thing in Ireland at the time when I was treading the boards, we'd say, around the songwriter open mic nights 20 odd years ago. And he asked me to join his band. He said, until your thing takes off, you know, Paddy Casey. And he used to put me, I was the longest man on stage. I used to open the shows, then play guitar with him. And at the end, he'd sometimes get me to do another song for the encore. It was just amazing and really helped me to build an audience around Ireland. And so a couple of the songs on this version are also demos that he produced at the time. And so it's a nod to all people like that, and Imelda May, who's been so supportive.
Yeah, that version of Love Is the Way is gorgeous.
It's great, isn't it, with the orchestra? Yeah, and she just turned it into kind of like a soul song. I thought it was like an Aretha treatment of it or something, you know. That's really what it's about, and really proud of what they did. These versions of the tracks are exclusive to this vinyl, you know.
Yeah, you can't stream this thing, right? So, and Paul just does it. I mean, he's not checking in with you on the track and what you want and things like that. He just does his version. Him and Steve Craddock at Blank Bar.
Steve just did their version, yeah. And I was blown away by it, really. You know, I've heard a good few recordings of Galileo, but yeah, you always kind of go, yeah, it's nice, you know, I like it, but, you know, without saying anything,
yeah,
you know, it doesn't always, you know, tick the box of where the writer would like it to be or something in me. But their version was just, I was like, that knocks mine off the top. You know?
I don't know about that. You know, do you know there were actually 3 artists on that song?
Oh, well, there was somebody who shouted Bumbleclat at the end. Is that,
yeah.
is that the third one?
Yeah, so Charles Reese said this to me. They did a beautiful take. And then Liam Bailey, I don't know if you know Liam. Liam's bonkers, but he's been supporting them on tour around that time.
But I heard a little bit about him. He sounds like a character, yeah.
Unbelievable, yeah. He just came bombing into the studio when the red lights on and just shouted. I didn't know they were recording. And they just left it on, which I love.
I thought it was great. And you know what? When I sent it to somebody to be mastered, they were also saying, what's that little thing on the end? Will I cut it off? And I said, no, leave it on. You know, so it's been through a few phases of people trying to probably chop it out. And no, that's too great to keep on. What an unusual, brilliant little thing, you know. I believe it's a Jamaican word that means, Charles looked it up for me. It means outstanding or something, you know. Yeah.
Love it. Now, I want to also tell you, you mentioned the 20th anniversary of that debut album. I want to tell you a bit of a sad story now, right? As soon as that went on sale for the live gig at King's Place, I got my ticket and I got Charles Rees a ticket and I was going to take him for Christmas, right? We were coming along. And then a couple of weeks before, I was just like, Charles, just a reminder, we got this. And he was like, oh, I bought a ticket for me and my son. He's like, I completely forgot. Sorry. I was like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So then I said to Jez, who's Paul Weller's driver, who I know a bit, I said, come along to Declan. He's like, yeah, that'd be great, right? On the day, or the day of, I was really ill. I had like horrendous flu. I couldn't get out of bed, so I had to miss it. I was gutted, right? Really sad. And then I found out that my seats would have been sat next to Paul and Hannah.
Okay.
So not only did I miss this amazing gig at a venue I love, for an artist I love, and I was lying in bed feeling like so ill just before Christmas. It was the day before my birthday as well. Oh. And I'd been sat next to Paul and Hannah. And then I saw this photo of the entire crew with you, I think. And I was like, oh my God, this is the saddest thing ever. What?
Camp was along. Yeah. No, it was brilliant. Like, you, the newest member of the crew, Dan.
Well, this is what I also wanted to ask you about, right? So, when we last spoke, we talked a lot about the album Arrivals, which is great, and we talked about you as an author. At no point in that did you warn me how difficult that is. So, as you'll know, because you're in it, Paul Weller, Dancing Through the Fire, the authorized oral history is out this September. You didn't warn me how difficult that is, man, becoming an author. Nobody
warns you, but really, having reached this point, would you prefer if somebody warned you?
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Would you have attempted it if you know what you knew now? That's a good thing. No, you're right. Yeah.
No, but to be honest, I loved it. My first book was something I'd been trying to get a run at for a couple of years up until COVID kicked off, lockdown, and that gave me complete chance to focus on it. I locked myself in this room every day for, we talked about that on the other podcast we did, for over 7 months, never missed a day. That was the first phase.
That discipline, I was so, yeah. That's brilliant.
I loved it. I found it a little bit harder the second time round because I didn't have that opportunity to be 100% focused constantly, the distractions coming in and out and other work and what have you. But yeah, how's your experience been? Has it been actually difficult or no, It's
been hard because I think it would have been very easy to just publish the transcripts of the podcast and do a kind of spin-off of the podcast. And it's not that. It's a full kind of 50 plus year oral history with extra interviews, all extra conversations and stuff. And it's what you leave out as well. I mean, at one point I had a book that was like 1.2 million words and you're just like, how am I going to cut down? To me, like every element of Weller's career is really important, obviously, as a fan. And you're like, what am I going to lose? This is impossible.
Yeah, cutting is hard. Yeah.
But no, really rewarding. And I think obviously, I don't yet know, but you'll know this from when you see your album in the shops, when you see your book in the shops, that's going to be a great buzz, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be magic. Yeah.
So talking of which, so we had it's a double album, wasn't it? The 20th anniversary. I've got it here. Jez got this for me on the night. I gave him the money, he got me this. And you did sign it, so bless you.
Pleasure.
What's next, man? There's got to be new music because Arrivals was what, 2021?
Arrivals was 2021, yeah, which just seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? We are still touring that at the moment. I've got some dates in October, November around Ireland and the UK. So you get a chance to make up for your King's Place.
Bless you.
We're in Union Chapel sometime late November and around the UK. But I just made a new record. I was in Australia for 2 months in March and April. I went out there to make a film. I was asked to go out and act in a film, which was,
I didn't know this. How much can you tell me about this?
Not a whole lot at the moment.
Okay.
But except that.
That's it. There's a film. Okay. Wow, how exciting. What a buzz. This is off the back of seeing Paul Weller in Blitz. Was that what that was?
That's not it. Because no, we won't talk about that. But he and I have laughed and joked about how we're both all of a sudden acting now, we compared notes, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it was a whole new experience, but one I absolutely loved and really enjoyed the challenge of, and it should be out in about a year's time.
Okay.
But on the back of that, because I was going to Australia, I've always wanted to make a record there because, I spent 9 years of my life there and kind of cut my teeth, did my apprenticeship there in many ways, songwriting, and I've got some great pals out there. And so I went and made a record in Sydney. I went out a month early to make a record and spent about 3 weeks in the studio with a great friend of mine, Jim Magini from Midnight Oil, the Australian rock band.
Yeah, okay.
And a few musicians he brought in. It was just great buzz. So I'm really excited about that in the post-production phase at the minute, which is basically listening and deciding what to keep, but it's practically complete. I hope that'll be out maybe next spring.
Okay. Wow.
It has been a while because even though 21 was the release of Arrivals, we made that in Black Barn in wow, look at that spider.
No. Oh, I saw you. Look at that. Look at that little money spider.
Oh, there he is. Look, he's making an appearance.
The fact that it just came out of your beautiful curly locks was so wonderful.
Tom, you wouldn't know what might crawl out of my hair, Anyway, lawnmowers and hairbrushes. What was I actually saying? We recorded it in 2019, I think.
Pre-COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID, right on the eve of it, and then the plan was to put it out in, I suppose, 2020 anyway. But when that happened, we were really like, oh God, the world is in pause mode. Do we put it out or not? Do we wait until after? And then it strangely felt appropriate to the times. Some of the songs felt like they really fit somehow. So essentially, it's 6 years since.
But how quickly that's gone is ridiculous, isn't it? It
is amazing, yeah. Well, I can say I wasn't sitting on my ass completely. Write 2 books, as we know.
Yeah. You've been acting since. There's another album on the way. Exciting stuff. What you haven't done yet, though, you and Weller. So yes, this is a beautiful cover. This is a beautiful duet. This is the two of you. But have you actually done any writing together? Have we jumped over that hurdle yet?
Haven't. So there's still goals on the horizon. Yeah. No, definitely. We will do that. We both want to do it. So it's a matter of, I suppose, the right idea popping up or something. Just, sometimes these things just happen of their own accord, something will pop up and you're not even aware. You make the phone call and say, this is for us. So we just wait for that moment.
I remember you saying to me when we spoke on the last podcast about that time of when you started at V2 and you learned that Paul discovered your music and things and how much that meant. Does it still have the same buzz where you see an album out in the world and the opening track and it's Paul Weller featuring Declan O'Rourke?
I couldn't believe it. When they sent it to me, they didn't tell me where it was on the album or anything. They just sent me the album, a file and said, throw your ears on this, and I was like, wow, fucking opening track, I was so proud, and really tickled and just saying, God, I just love him so much.
Hey, look, it's been a delight to see you and chat with you. I'll see you in London, the next gig, hopefully. But yeah, really appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
Great stuff, Dan. Thanks for the shout and great to chat to you. And best of luck with the book. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Oh, what a lovely guy, eh? Declan O'Rourke on the podcast. As he mentions, the 20th anniversary tour continues. Dates in Ireland later on this year, but also coming over to Gateshead in November, Glasgow, a couple of dates there. He's going to be in Brighton, Bristol, Milton Keynes, Salford and London. Do check him out. Brilliant live and on record. And don't forget, Handouts in the Rain, the opening song of the brand new Paul Weller album, a duet between Paul and Declan, Find El Dorado, is available right now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please do share on your social media channels. It all helps to spread the word. Who knows how those algorithms work on Facebook, X, Instagram, and so on these days. So keep sharing, please. It's always lovely that these conversations, which are completely free for you, by the way, reach as big an audience as possible. If you want to read the show notes, Paul Weller Fan Podcast is my website. Just search for it on Google. paulwellerfanpodcast.com. Head into the store if you fancy buying some official podcast merchandise. Get your pre-orders in for the book as well. We're just over a month away. Wow, blimey. Or if you fancy just getting a virtual coffee, you can do that as well. paulwellerfanpodcast.com. On the next episode, delighted to be joined by Amelia Coburn, another huge talent. So make sure you follow, you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That one coming up next. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.